is invading your airwaves. Be on the lookout.
Geeks and Gamers.
Hey, sport fans. Welcome to the Sports Wars podcast. I am Bryson, your host for this episode, and we have an exciting show in store for you today. We have a full house here yet again. We have the Morgan brothers, John and Roy. We have the Star Wars fanboy, David LaRock. And we also have our CEO joining us back here again for Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy Griggs. How's everyone doing tonight?
It was a pretty good weekend. Doing pretty good tonight.
It was
doing
all right.
okay. I'm doing okay. Alabama made it.
25.
Alabama made it to the playoffs, so I'm pretty happy. Which
Santa's coming.
Which I have a lot of questions about all that, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah,
And,
we're going to definitely educate you tonight on some college football. Don't
I
worry.
hope y'all brought something to write with. There's going to be a test at the end of the podcast.
Well, real quick,
Apparently, how the committee actually gets to playoff is they use a magic 8 ball, from what I gather. But I guess that's.
I mean, it seemed pretty straightforward to me.
Oh, God.
well, like I said, we have some questions about that. We're a quick joke here, Jeremy. The reason why I called David the Star Wars fanboy. He sent me a little Snapchat the other day. David, you should remember this. You were either in a Walmart or...
It was a Winn-Dixie.
Okay, it was in a Winn-Dixie. I guess Pepsi had a display of R2-D2, right? So he sent it to me and said, what the fuck is this? And
Literally
I said,
had no idea.
yeah, and I said, that's R2-D2. He's like, is that trash can thing?
Oh, my God.
I was
Hold
like,
on,
yeah.
let's not let John off the hook here, too. He hasn't seen Star Wars either.
You sons of bitches.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
really?
Yeah.
We're like Eskimo brothers.
Yeah.
This is the moment where I realized I have failed at building a community because
This is amazing.
podcast. have not
I
seen
will never
Star
make another
Wars.
23 joke in front of you again.
Appreciate that. I haven't seen Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings.
None of it. Right here, brother.
Wow.
Man.
Hey, you want to come over Saturday for a sleepover?
I call Big Spoon.
Hey, that's fine.
You guys can cuddle up and watch Star Wars and Harry Potter. All right, so let's get into our first news topic of the day. So the first one, we kind of covered this last week, but things have changed within a week or so. The Giants, they fired Ben McAdoo. Whoopie-doo. We all knew that was coming. But now Eli is going to replace Geno Smith as the starter for Sunday's game against the Cowboys. So, David, it looks like your wish didn't come true in this whole little matter. So what do you think about all this mess that's going on?
It doesn't matter. Blow it up. Just top to bottom. What the Giants should do, whoever they get as a coach and GM, they should get them. They should get the GM, and the GM should get their head coach. So there's no, ownership disagreement there. And what they need to do is the Giants need to do to Eli what Indy did to his brother. Just cut him. Done. Start over. Fresh scratch. It's not happening. Eli's not good anymore, and I get it. Sentimental value.
The difference between what the Colts did to Peyton and what the Giants are going to do to Eli is, well, first off, the Colts didn't bench Peyton.
No, he just didn't play the entire year because of his neck.
Well, they didn't mention 4 games in the previous season, but also when the Colts decided to cut bait with Peyton, there was a clear-cut number 1 undisputed quarterback going in Andrew Luck. There isn't that this year.
Well, we don't know where they're going to pick. We don't know what cap flexibility they have. Trades could be made.
I mean, right now they're 2.
So there's not a top 2. I don't follow college football, and there's a kid from UCLA, there's the kid from USC, and there's a kid from Wyoming
In Oklahoma.
Every one of them has. They're not Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was called the most pro-ready quarterback to come out since Peyton Manning.
John Elway, since John Elway is what they were saying.
I mean, and there isn't that this year. These kids may be good, but they're not that.
You got to roll the dice.
At the end of the day, Ben McAdoo is a fucking idiot, and what he did was an all-time idiot move. So they needed to get rid of him. And honestly, I'm gonna agree with David though. Like at this point, just let Eli finish the season and then get rid of him because
isn't that what
the guy.
we were all saying last week?
Right. It's
just let him finish it.
Right. I just didn't like the fact that they benched him for Geno Smith, which was the all-time worst move ever. And but yeah, let him finish the season. I think you need to get rid of Eli. Let him go finish his career somewhere else. Rebuild. Find you the next quarterback that you want to build around and move forward. That's what they need to do.
What were you going to say, John?
Oh, I was going to say, obviously this McAdoo thing didn't all happen in 1 week. They should have fired him before they fucked up Eli's streak. I know a streak really doesn't matter, but like David said, let him finish out the season and then move on. Don't let that shit. Don't bench him and then the next week fire the dude that benched him and then start him again. That's fucking dumb.
It's like the dad, talking to the coach. You're not going to bench my son. You're fired.
It just it all felt like a load of shit because like the day after Manning got benched, ownership came out and was like, "Oh, we 100% back our coach," and then 4 days later, "Oh yeah, you're fired, fucker," and they get rid of him. They get rid of the was it Reese, the GM? They get rid of both of them. Reese should have been fired probably a few years ago because I mean, what have they put around? What do they put around Eli? There's no. I mean.
How about a top 5 defense a couple years ago?
But I mean, the defense is great, but if you're not scoring any points,
well, how about don't turn the ball over?
But something else that's not being mentioned: the Giants are leading the league in drops this year.
Okay, I mean,
Eli's never been elite. Let's just.
He
never has.
I mean, he's been a very good quarterback, and that for some reason
he's been very good, but he's very inconsistent. Very inconsistent.
For some fucking reason, he has a switch that he hits.
So
every 5 years in the playoffs.
Here's my favorite Eli stat. Okay, he has 2 Super Bowl wins. Right, he does not have another playoff win besides those 2 Super Bowl runs.
That's insane.
To me, he is the worst 2 Super Bowl winning quarterback I've ever seen.
That's like seeing like a pink unicorn. Like,
I mean, that's been the thing with Eli Manning. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, 2 different guys. Regular season Eli is serviceable, a notch above serviceable. When Eli is locked in the playoffs,
he's on fire.
He's tough to fucking beat.
His career quarterback rating is 83.3,
which is
average,
fair to middling.
Which is still 30 points higher than Tim Tebow.
222 interceptions, 334 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like last week I was really defensive on how they handled it, and now that wrong has been righted, and now it's just let him finish the season and move on from him.
I mean, I do think that's the kind of the consensus with this is that he's gonna play 4 more games for the Giants, and then he'll be in Denver or Jacksonville or fucking Arizona next year.
More than likely Jacksonville. I like Pat's idea how he probably go to Jacksonville. It's like the perfect fit for him.
If they have the cap.
Yeah, I would say Jacksonville, it's a perfect fit, but there's not a lot of money there. Is he going to play for literal peanuts? Like, I mean, that's what he's going to have to do.
It ain't like his family's hurting for money, though.
I know. Didn't Peyton, play for less when he went to Denver?
I mean, it was less. No. I mean, he still was paid top 5, top 3.
Right.
And don't forget that nationwide money.
Yeah.
Papa John's money.
Papa John's, yeah. All right, so now let's go into our next topic, some college football here. All right, so now there's 4 teams left. The college football for the college football playoffs. Clemson number 1, Oklahoma number 2, Georgia number 3, and Alabama at number 4. Now, obviously, 1 through 3 were easy for the committee to pick. However, that's when things got a little interesting when it came to the number 4 spot. So, with that being said, of course, me and David have a lot of questions about all this, especially not being real big college guys. Jeremy, I'm going to start with you first, and then we'll just go around the room to the Morgan brothers over there. Give me your thoughts on the Final Four. Who will win, who will lose, all that hoopla stuff. And then me and David will be the little interrogators over here about everything else.
So unlike a lot of the reaction, I'm completely fine with what the committee did. I was going to be fine if they put Ohio State in, and I'm an Alabama fan because at the end of the day, there were reasons to pick both. But bottom line is when you lose to Iowa by 30 points, you just don't deserve to get in over a one-loss Alabama team under the circumstances. So I'm happy with the decision either way. I'm happy with the system because I was happy with the BCS that everybody complained about. I feel like almost every time it got right. If we expand to 8, then people are going to be bitching about 9 and 10 and why they should have got in. It doesn't matter. People are always going to complain no matter what. So overall, the 4 best teams got in. Alabama probably got really lucky by not having to face Georgia and got an extra week and didn't have to face another physical SEC team to get really healthy.
I honestly never thought I'd ever hear that fucking statement.
You ain't fucking lying.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, Alabama got
repeated again slowly.
Yeah, they did. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Alabama's been banged up really bad this year. So how everything has worked out. And look, and honestly, Georgia probably got lucky too because look at Auburn after they played Alabama. They limped into that game, overconfident, beat up because everybody that plays out. Look at Florida State. After Florida State played Alabama, they were a shell of themselves. Like Alabama's a physical team, and so is Georgia. So the fact that Alabama's been crippling towards the end of the year and got to avoid playing Georgia in a SEC championship matchup, yeah. And now we got 4 weeks to prepare for Clemson. It's a win-win. But overall, yeah, the system works. The committee did the right thing. Either way, I would have been fine with it though, because you can look at it and go, hey, Ohio State was the conference champion and Alabama had the opportunity to control their own destiny and they didn't show up against Auburn. So, I mean, either way, it would have been fine. People just need to deal with it. So I think it's a great system. Go ahead, Roy.
I do think they also got it right. Shocker that I'm happy with 2 SEC teams being in it. Actually, it probably would have favored Georgia to not have Alabama in it. Of these 4 teams, I mean, obviously Oklahoma is going to be a tough matchup. I mean, all 4 of them are good. There's a lot of familiarity there between Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, so that's always going to be interesting. Ohio State, the bottom line, don't lose by 30 to fucking Iowa. I mean, this wouldn't have even been a conversation if imagine people saying the same thing for Alabama that people have been saying about Iowa State. If Alabama had lost by 31 points to Missouri.
And that's the thing. Nobody in their right mind would believe that's even humanly possible. Nick Saban has not lost a game at Alabama by more than 14 points. He's been there since 2007.
Missouri has the exact same record as Iowa. If Missouri beats Alabama by 10 points, Alabama's not in.
Right.
And so that's why all this, but they're division champs bullshit. The Big Ten is weak. Okay, it's weak. They lost to a weak team.
Wait, hold on real quick. So what happens if Missouri beat Alabama, but Alabama beats the SEC title game? Like, so they would be SEC champs with a awful Missouri loss. Would that matter?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Is it their only loss? I mean, they're going to weigh that. They're going to weigh the losses.
If Alabama is a one-loss SEC champion, they're going. No doubt. Because if you look at everyone else, Clemson lost to an unranked team. Oklahoma, who did Oklahoma lose to?
Iowa State.
Iowa State, unranked team. And then Georgia lost really bad to Auburn, but then Georgia,
avenged that.
Yeah, they avenged that loss. So, yeah, a one-loss Alabama, even if it's to Missouri and they're the SEC champion, yeah, if you look at – now, if you have 4 undefeated teams ahead of them and they have the one loss, then, yeah, maybe we're having a different discussion. But,
okay, I'm going to piggyback off of what David said, too, because his question went along to what I was going to ask. So, now this is me just looking from the outside in with all this, too, and David kind of has probably the same perspective of me on this. If you look back at everything – Ohio State had the better resume for the season, okay?
No.
Well, just
No.
Hear me out.
Shut that shit down quick.
I know. It's like I haven't got my full sentence out. I mean, the B teams like Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, all teams ranked higher than any of the teams that Alabama defeated this season.
That's not true. That's not true. If you're going to say Wisconsin is a high-ranked team, then Florida State was ranked number 3 when Alabama beat them.
Okay.
So Alabama beat the highest ranked
of the season.
It doesn't matter. Wisconsin's not the number 4 team in the country.
Okay, but here's my thing though. Like, okay, I get they lost to Iowa. I know everyone's saying they lost to Iowa. Blah 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 blah. I get that. Okay,
I can't stress to you how ugly that loss is.
31
but my thing is though, I personally don't care for that. Okay, I don't care if you lose at the beginning of the season or the mid of the season.
No, it has nothing to do with win.
If you can fight your way back to the top 5, win your conference, you should automatically be placed in there on the top 4.
Look
Right.
what Clemson did. They lost the first game of the season to fucking Syracuse.
No, it wasn't the first game, but it was a couple games
Okay,
in.
hang on. Let me throw a scenario at you, okay? What was the New York Football Giants record in 2007, David?
9-7, and they got in as a wild card.
9-7, and
But
New
they got
England
into a
was
wild
8.
card.
No, I know, and New England was 18-1. Who's got a better resume?
They were 18. No. But we're not arguing any given Sunday bullshit. We're arguing who deserves to get into that wild card spot. My problem with all of this is it's not black and white.
But
Okay?
it can't be.
Well, God, it should not be subjective.
People
Okay?
still complain about the NCAA basketball tournament.
They're
People are still
66.
arguing over who. It
I'm
doesn't matter.
sorry.
People are still arguing over 65 and 66 and 67.
People just like to argue about number 67. I get it. Mid-majors, St. Mary's, I get it. But the fact that it's so big, and I'm trying to get into it because there's nothing else to do on Saturday. The fact that it is so subjective, it is almost like gymnastics when people are like, 10.5, 9.1. They have a commit. You should be on the committee because it is nothing but the eye test. Why do they even keep score? Like
That's not true.
Like the fact that you keep reiterating how much a team lost by is bullshit.
No,
That's
it's
style
not.
points. That shouldn't matter.
Okay,
It's not just how much they lost by; it's who they lost to by that much.
But still, that goes back to my point. I don't care who they lost to and how much they lost by. If you can fight your way back to the top and even win your conference, that should be.
but those are still circumstances.
But
And then
Ohio State 4 losses.
So, another off-topic question. USC, why did they not even get mentioned? Their strength of schedule was better, and they beat more teams in the top 40.
Because Ohio State is the kind of the big dog.
And they got blown out by Notre Dame. They got blown out by Notre Dame.
They got blown out by another team that dropped.
So Ohio State, or USC.
So the big dog in the room, that counts, right?
Say what?
Because Ohio State's the big dog, the big name.
They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. I think I've heard
Such
that.
bullshit. That's exactly my point. Thank you, Mr. Anti-Star Wars.
But here's what.
Y'all are fucking bonding tonight. We're gonna call this episode the LaRock and John.
Listen though.
If I got married again, you would be my best man.
I will say though, I've always considered Ohio State, the Dallas Cowboys of college football. But the reality of it is, I mean, Alabama had like the 3 of the 4 best rated games this year. I didn't realize that. Like Clay Travis tweeted that the other day, and I didn't see Ohio State up there at all. So like, I don't know if it's even fair to call Ohio State the Dallas Cowboys of it anymore.
But I mean, they're still in the mix though. Like,
absolutely. You're.
I mean, that is something that's different in college football in that there are certain brands that have influence. Yes,
not teams, brands.
I know. Wait a minute. If you don't think Robert Kraft has some influence and Jerry Jones, there's a reason that they have the 2 most profitable teams because they have influence.
Yeah.
They now they have influence getting on prime time.
There are a lot of politics that go into the NFL.
Only on only on TV views, not who wins, who gets in the playoffs.
Oh, come on!
Fucking Jacksonville can't even sell out a home game.
Okay,
and they're going to host a playoff game.
Listen to me. Did Michael Jordan get calls that nobody else got?
Absolutely, because he earned that.
Exactly, and fucking Alabama's earned it.
But it's a brand. It's not.
I don't understand that.
Does Tom Brady get calls? Does Tom Brady get calls that nobody else gets?
But he got 5 rings. Like it's different.
And Nick Saban has 5 rings.
But it's the brand of the school and the image and what it draws.
There are people that will straight up tell you that Tom Brady has gotten calls that have impacted his legacy on the field. Subjective calls that could go either way, but because he's Tom Brady and he plays for Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, those calls went his way and it impacted the entire season.
I know it's like a big popularity thing. That's really
That's
all it boils
sports.
down
It's
to.
all sports is all this is about sports. It's just a little more in your face with college, but if you start peeling the layers back on any other sport, this bullshit exists everywhere.
But it shouldn't impact.
There's
the actual-
100 and something teams in college football, and it's a physical sport. You can't give them 20 and 30 games a season to figure this out. Like, at some point, you have to have the committee.
I don't want a committee. Like there should be some black and white. If you win your conference, you're in.
Well, you're a numbers
Yes.
guy, and we had
Yes.
the BCS that was completely computer, and nobody liked it. Everybody bitched about that too.
So why can't we have the BCS with no committee and the playoff? Blend the two together, black
Money.
and white,
People are still
Money.
going to complain about it.
and
Yeah.
that's fine. You know, the fucking TCUs and UCFs. We're talking big dogs. UCF would lose by 100 to fucking Alabama. I get that, but I'm talking the major contenders, the top tiers.
But
There
at the
has
same
to-
time, how do you know that though? How do you know UCF would lose to 100 by Bama? How do you know?
Because they
On
do.
your- Because of the eye test? Because of the eye test?
No, because what
Oh, shit, you
5-star
almost gotta
recruits?
admit it.
The fucking 5-star recruit. How many
Listen,
pro scouts?
listen. Iowa beat Ohio State. Look up Iowa's recruiting numbers versus Ohio State.
Did JT
and
Barrett
tell
have a
me-
bad game? I mean, did they get hurt? I mean, I don't know.
Got
Appalachian
destroyed.
State beat Michigan about 10 years ago.
Yeah, so if you
Division
want to sit
two.
here and tell me subjectivity and all this stuff and eye test is bullshit, but then you want to claim that UCF would lose to 100 by Bama, you're contradicting yourself.
They don't have the talent.
Neither did Iowa. And they
But
did it.
how-
Iowa, I would have to, if somebody can look it up, Iowa probably had like the 30 or 40th best recruiting class, and Ohio State had a top 5 recruiting class last year.
Maybe you can blame that on Urban for not coaching them up. I don't know. I didn't watch the
At
game.
the end of the day,
Well, I noticed,
Nick
a lot of
Saban
games.
has not lost by more than 14 points in 10 years, and Iowa beat Ohio State by 31. You got to put that in perspective.
But that shouldn't matter for this year.
Yes.
I mean,
I just
What
I want
mattered
them to
this
fix
year is
No, it
Ohio
did-
State has 2 losses. Alabama had 1. Alabama's 1 loss happened at a shitty time, and it caused them to miss the SEC championship game.
and it happened to an in-state rival on the road to the at the time the hottest team in college football.
and
Who
and
are
all
the
that
people on the
matters.
committee, anyways?
They're all fucking athletic directors and people with ties to conferences, ex-ADs.
If you have direct ties to any of the schools or the conferences, you have to recuse yourself. There were 3 people that had to recuse themselves from the committee because of those situations.
Now,
Like I
could they
said-
vote for the other teams, or did they just have to leave for the entire day?
No, they left the whole their vote did not count. I think there's 13
So-
total committee
So the
members.
committee went down to 10?
Yeah, so the committee went down to 10.
Okay, so next question. What happened if the committee was split? 5 Alabama, 5 Ohio State? You have a stalemate?
Well, I don't know what I
Never
have
happened
no idea.
before.
You just
Yeah.
fucking hash it out until somebody cracks? Like,
But basically,
Oh,
based
I'm
on
guessing there's
what
probably waterboarding involved.
based on what the committee, I guess he called the president said. I mean, it sounded like it was pretty close to unanimous that Bama was the team. So it doesn't even seem like that was close.
I mean,
and
they even the head, I guess the spokesman for the group got on the college football playoff TV show, selection committee show,
Mm-hmm.
and said that 30-point loss was the difference.
But 2 weeks ago, he then said Alabama and Ohio State, slim margin. We don't know. Like they never backed themselves in a corner.
right, but why would he come out and say 2 weeks ago like yeah, Alabama's got this? I mean, it's still a business. You still like have ESPN that's going to sit there and go, hey man, we got to keep these ratings up. We
Fucking
want everybody
4 hours.
watching.
4-hour selection show.
Yeah, hey, it's like LeBron's decision. You got to get the ratings up. So, but
I
at the end
know.
of the day, the best 4 teams are in the playoff.
So what happens? Let's just say Clemson and Alabama play, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so just what happens when Alabama loses?
It's over.
What do you mean? Like, there's going to be a lot of controversy about that too. Like, Alabama should have never been in the first place.
Well, I mean, Ohio State went last year and got their doors blown off by Clemson. and
Yeah,
they got shut out.
Ohio State got absolutely annihilated.
Who won the Big Ten? Who won the
Ohio
Big
State.
Ten
Penn
last?
State.
Oh,
last
Penn State won it last year.
And they didn't get in.
No,
They didn't get in
Because
Ohio State got
apparently
So it's literally the same as Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except this time, instead of it favoring Ohio State.
See, that's
Ohio
my
State
fucking
got burned.
frustration right there.
See, my point. First of all, I would like to say I completely agree with the 4 teams. I like the 2 SEC teams in there, obviously, but I will counter that with if Ohio State beats Wisconsin by a hell of a lot more points than they did, they're in over Alabama.
That's a strong
That
possibility.
shouldn't fucking matter.
It does. If the Ohio State game is what the Nebraska game was, 56-14. If they beat Wisconsin 56-14, Ohio State is in it. Alabama's not.
So pretty much, if
Possibly.
Ohio State has no turnovers in that game, because I watched that game and that shit was ugly.
Yeah.
So if Ohio State doesn't turn the ball over, they get in.
If they put up 56 points against with that time, number 4 Wisconsin,
Mhm.
And Wisconsin
Yeah.
is garbage.
Yes.
If they would have beaten Ohio State and played whoever, Clemson, they would have got the doors blown off.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's something else that nobody's talking about is if Wisconsin handles business, Alabama's not in.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's in. The entire country just caves in, and it's just Clemson and Georgia. They should just play round robin, best of 3.
Well,
Oh, yeah. I feel like you're disrespecting Oklahoma a little bit here, and
Yeah.
I hate to be the guy that's going to take up for Oklahoma because
And they do
Oklahoma.
and they have the
Oklahoma's
best player in the country.
Yeah.
But do they play defense? I don't know. I watched the TCU game, and they scored
It's
like
going to
80.
be very interesting because they have the 50th ranked defense in the country against the run, and Georgia has 5 running backs that we're going to run at them.
I can't wait for that game.
I just
That's
want to see
gonna
Baker
be great.
Mayfield do a crotch chop.
Yeah, fuck Baker Mayfield. Fuck that guy.
Do a Marshawn Lynch, grab his crotch.
But yeah, look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of controversy, but when it's all said and done, the right 4 teams are in.
And this is exactly why they did it.
Yeah.
How many podcasts right now, besides this excellent one that you're listening to right now, are
Presented
talking
by
about this
Geeks and
very
Gamers.com.
fucking thing? I mean,
Probably 1.2 million.
how many sport? I mean, Monday morning when you're driving to work and you're listening to Clay
Herd.
Travis or Golick and Wingo or whoever the fuck else is on the radio, how many, as you were driving to work, were talking about this very thing? Probably every fucking one of them,
Oh,
unless
yeah.
it's like a golf podcast you're listening to. And even then, they probably mentioned, "Hey, man, what's the deal with Alabama and Ohio State?"
Right.
Everybody is talking
It was
about
a dream. It's a dream scenario. You've got probably the 2 most marketable brands in college football in Ohio State and Alabama, coming down to the bubble on who gets in. It was a dream scenario for the advertisers, for college football, for the
So
committee.
in theory,
So-
I should have been cheering for Wisconsin.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why. Why?
So whoever's going to
Well,
draw in the most money in the playoffs.
So the
that's just
entire
in.
as Bain
If you're
said,
wanting
watch
a
the
good
Baltimore.
game, you don't cheer for Wisconsin. If you
Yeah.
want
Obviously.
a decent college football game, then Clemson, Bama is what you're going to get, and Oklahoma.
round 3. Haven't seen
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah,
but I mean, but this time it's in a semifinal and not in a final.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, stakes are less.
Slightly, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the problem is. I mean, it's exciting.
I just don't understand how they went through all this. Too. I
It's-
sitting there
I mean,
watching
it's-
the selection,
I mean,
like,
as
really?
I keep saying, 2 losses are still more than 1 loss. Alabama.
So is that all we're going on now? I don't like the fact that the committee gives no standards. Like there's no structure. There's no
Yes.
template.
Yes.
When you step foot into a college class, they give you what's the word I'm looking for, Bryson?
Syllabus.
A syllabus. Yes, that's how far I've been graduated. They give you a syllabus. Hey, if you do this, you pass. With the committee, it's like, if you win by 40.
Yeah, that one
it's
loss,
Okay,
Just fix it.
It's the same
These
thing. It's the same thing as MVP in the NFL.
But nobody cares. That doesn't affect the championship. It's the only sport.
Wait a minute. Bullshit. People don't care about it. Like when people talk about the
jeez.
greatest players of all time, their MVP awards they matter in this discussion.
Brady's
like
won
it-
it twice.
Well, it's like me winning
Right.
student of the month in middle school. No one give a shit.
I mean, that's fine, but people do care that Peyton Manning won it 4 or 5 times, or Brett Favre won it 3 years in a row, or that LeBron James has got 5 or 6 and Jordan had 6. People care about that. Why? Because it was all to a subjective opinion and a vote, but nobody questions any of that.
Because it does, in the big scheme of things, would you rather have an MVP or a title?
But you're diverting
You're talking apples
now.
and oranges.
No, you're not, because you never sit there and go, when I say Michael Jordan 6-time MVP, I've never heard you go, well, that was someone's subjective voting. No, you're like, hell yeah, because
You're right, because he should have won more.
Either way.
Because they gave it to Barkley once, they gave it to Malone once, when obviously MJ was the greatest.
Right.
But again, that's better. I don't want a subjective group sitting there going,
what are referees?
Okay, but
What are referees?
Exactly. And
They
get
impact
calls
every
wrong.
game. They impact every single game. So
And they
stop
get the
watching
calls
NFL. Then stop watching the NFL. If you
I can't because the product's so good.
Okay,
At the end of the day, the teams with the 4 best records, all 4 of these teams are 1-loss teams. The next 1-loss team is Wisconsin. I mean, these are the 4 best records, regardless of fucking conference. I mean, we had it a couple years ago where the fucking Seahawks went to the playoffs and were 7-9, and I mean,
you just got to win your division.
I mean, that's what I'm saying though.
That's not fair either.
But at least there's a black and white formula.
But why is it fair that a 7-9 team can go, but another team that just happened to play in the wrong division goes 10-6 and they don't go? That's not fair.
Or 11-5, like the Patriots did that year.
You're
Brady
right, Matt Castle. It was 08. But again, I mean,
but that's not fair. But it's not fair.
But they know the structure going in.
No, they don't. They don't know that this team's going to surprisingly be good this year. And then you go, well, if that team was
if I would have told you you're going to go 11-5 and miss the playoffs,
but a 7-9 team's going to go in, you're going to say, oh, that's great. That works out perfectly.
You think there's a shit storm now? Imagine if that shit happened in college football. Motherfuckers would riot.
Exactly. And people and people like David would be like, how can a 7-9 team go, but a 10-6 team? It's like, we got the best 4 teams. The best 4 teams are in the finals. The best 4 teams are there. And that's all you can
I hope
ask.
you're right.
It's not even debatable. When you lose
So
by
if Clemson
31,
blows the doors off Alabama.
I mean, do we really think that's going to happen?
I don't, but hey, if Iowa can be,
hypothetically speaking.
I mean, fine, hypothetically speaking, but you're speaking like, does that mean that? Does that mean
last year that they could beat that how bad they beat Ohio State?
Does that mean that the Denver Broncos were not really good the year that they got blown out by Seattle, or did they just have a bad game?
Oh no, they got punched in the mouth for the fact that
but they were still had a great season and they were a great team.
Yes, again.
So I mean, if Clemson blows out Alabama. Oh, well, I mean, it still doesn't negate the fact that the 4 best teams on paper, through the eye test, through all of the variables, are in the playoffs.
Well, who will have a better chance of beating Clemson than Ohio State or Alabama?
Alabama. It's not even close.
Let's just all admit that it's going to be an Alabama-Georgia national title.
I'm not saying shit.
And I'm very curious to see about the ratings on that.
That would be epic. I'm hoping that.
That would be pretty cool.
Shout out to Caleb, the Oklahoma guy.
All right, we spent enough time on this, so let's move it along there, Bryce.
Okay, so we'll talk about the 4 teams. Okay, so who makes it to the finals and plays for the national championship?
I'm not saying anything. I'm superstitious, so I'm not saying anything.
No. I want your input on this, Mr. Wearing an Alabama hat.
I don't look. I have learned to really appreciate, and Dabo Swinney is a former Alabama football player. He played on the 1992 national championship team. I don't love his coaching style. I like Nick Saban's coaching style, Bill Belichick's coaching style of just really serious. And Dabo's he's a dabber and a dancer. But I have to give this man credit. I mean, Clemson is incredible, and they've been an elite team for the past several years now.
So
I think it's going to be a really close game, and it's going to come down to a final possession, just like it has the last 2 times that Alabama and Clemson have played. Look, when we played Clemson 2 years ago, I was blown away by Clemson. That was one of the most stressful Alabama games I've seen. And then last year, obviously, it came down to the final play of the game where they scored. And we're not going to talk about the illegal screen, but
well, what bowl game are they playing in again? Rose Bowl?
Sugar Bowl.
They're playing Sugar Bowl. Playing New Orleans.
Georgia's playing in the Rose Bowl.
And so, God dang it.
Do it.
I mean,
do it.
I'm picking Alabama and I'm picking Georgia.
Okay, John, who do you pick in this matchup?
I previously stated it already. SEC
Next
National
question.
Championship.
Just
Okay.
here so I won't get fined.
Roy,
Yeah,
let me hear your thoughts.
agendas.
I'm also picking. I mean, and then, don't get me wrong. I'm picking Georgia. Everybody knows I'm a Georgia fan. That's no disrespect to Alabama or Oklahoma. Excuse me. I don't think Oklahoma's going to be able to do anything with our run game. But it's just going to be a matter of who jumps on who first. Because if we get behind Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield, then that run game kind of goes away. But I'm picking Georgia and also Alabama. I think Saban and the rest of that team are going to come out pissed after what happened last year, and Clemson doesn't have Deshaun Watson this time.
Boy, I can feel Caleb just he's going
Fucking
full,
seething
he's,
right
he's,
now.
he's
I mean, what did he
dog side.
expect, though? Damn it!
Hey,
I know.
side note though, we have to control Baker Mayfield. If we let that kid go off, then we're in trouble.
Let me say this right now. Baker Mayfield is a great college quarterback. He's the best player in the country. I'm not convinced he'll be an NFL quarterback, but we'll see.
Who was the last Oklahoma quarterback that was very high on the pedestal?
Sam
Bradford.
Bradford.
Oh, where's he at now?
He's in a hospital.
I mean, hey, that's
He's in an iron
that's
lung.
not fair. That the fact that his body failed him.
Okay,
You gotta
but-
call him Mr.
no, but hey,
Glass.
I will say, was it fair when Tim Tebow beat his ass in a national championship game after he won after he stole the Heisman from Tebow?
Tebow's episode was last week, okay?
I'm sorry. LaRock
David.
mentioned him first. LaRock
Hold on,
mentioned
hold
him
on,
first
hold on.
tonight.
LaRock, I want you to pick now.
The interesting thing with the Georgia or Alabama Clemson game is going to be what Clemson's front four does to Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
That's going to be the matchup to watch.
A lot of running.
Alabama not having Clemson not having a Deshaun Watson is going to be interesting. That defense is going to do their thing. I think this one's going to be probably surprisingly low scoring. I think it's probably going to end up like 14-10 or something, and they're just going to beat the shit out of each other.
But before David goes, I'll just say, look, objectively speaking, a Nick Saban team that's had time to heal, that's pissed off because they were doubted, going into a game that they lost last year on the final play of the game, that's not a good scenario for Clemson. I'm not saying Bama's going to roll them or anything. I'm just saying that's not a good situation to be in.
They're just going to throw bubble screens.
And not having Deshaun Watson, I just everything points to Bama taking care of business, but we'll see. David, go. We need your college football expertise.
Who's the head coach for Oklahoma?
I don't even know that guy's name. It's his first year.
Lincoln Riley, I believe, is his name.
Yeah, he
And this
replaced
is his
Stoops.
first year.
First year.
Yeah.
Was he like an offensive coordinator previously?
Yes.
Is there a joke coming?
No joke. I mean, if I'm logically picking because I don't know Dick.
Yeah.
Then
Baker Mayfield is the best player in the country, though, by far.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Alabama just because Saban. And it's very tough to beat a Saban team 3 times, even though offensively,
Only once. They've only beat him once.
whatever. Yeah. Well, playing 3 times, whatever. I mean, the only thing that scares me is just the fact that Alabama might not give their best player the ball because that shit pissed me off last time. So,
Best players.
Can you imagine
Best players on
screaming at a TV over a game he doesn't give a shit about?
it happens a lot. Alabama and Oklahoma, just because my boy Caleb.
You son of a bitch.
But no. So seriously,
No more Eskimo Bros.
Yeah. Oh, we're boys.
what happened was we had something special. I mean, Caleb's not here to defend it, and I don't know anything. So,
Well, I kind of want a Oklahoma Clemson.
Keep rooting against my guy.
Bryson,
Get the fuck out.
Bryson, you're just a college football troll. I see you retweeting all this college football bullshit that you don't know anything about. And you're like,
Oh no, he picked Auburn last week. I love your pick, Bryson. Keep picking.
Well, I'm like Skip. Whatever I pick, apparently it's the opposite of.
Pick Oklahoma, goddammit.
Okay, well that was fun. So let's
That
get
was
into
fun.
some, yeah, that was pretty heated.
that was a blasty blast.
Yeah, it's like a Skip and Sharp kind of shit going on with we had.
Skip.
All right, so that was
Got the
like I said,
miles in that yak.
all right, let's get into some community questions. But I'm going to make things interesting this week. So we're going to do a little rapid fire on this. I'm going to call one of you guys, and you'll have 10 seconds to answer it.
Oh,
only
shit.
Only 10 seconds.
I'm only going to need 6.
Are we going to have that Jeopardy thing go? No, that's more than 10 seconds, though. Go ahead. Never mind.
Nah. Okay, so here's our first question. Let's see how this shit works. Okay. How many more years, in your opinion, does Saban and Bill coach? Let me go with David.
Okay, I'm going to take half of it. I'm going to say Bill. I'm going to say let's go 3. And Jeremy can do the Saban one.
Oh, man, I think Saban's got another 5-6 years left easily.
How old is he?
He's like 60 something. He's up there. Like, I don't know his exact age though. I mean, you know about their, long walks and, mannerisms. I don't know all of that. So.
Hey, don't make fun.
You actually
I think it's
answered
like-
that. You actually answered that question in 4 seconds, so I'm actually pretty impressed.
Hey, can I throw a quick question in there on top of that? How
Sure.
does Saban retire as the coach for Alabama, or does he move on somewhere else?
He's staying at Bama.
Gotcha.
Just to answer the other question, Saban is 66. Belichick is 65.
Okay.
Yeah, I say 3.
All right.
For both or for just
No.
Bill?
For Bill. For Saban, I don't know because boosters pay for his house and he has a Mercedes dealership, so I don't know.
Next question.
It's true.
Was a 1-game suspension fair for Gronk?
No.
Hold on. I didn't pick you, bitch. Keep
Sorry.
your mouth shut. I'll put
This
you
should
on
not be
mute.
a rapid fire question.
It will be a rapid fire question because I'm gonna
Yeah,
pick one
because if
guy.
you let this shit go on longer than 10 seconds, it's
Yes,
gonna-
it's going to turn into a college football matchup. So,
I'm sorry, Bryson.
Was a 1-game suspension fair for Gronk? And I'm going to go with Roy.
No. Should have been 2 games. 1 game is all right, but I mean you're talking about something that was deliberately kind of a dirty shot. So I'm gonna say should have been 2. He'll probably peel it down to 1.
You said they're biting your fucking mouth over there because I know you want to say something else. Okay. Once Brady, Ben, and Breeze retire, who is the best quarterback next to Aaron Rodgers? Jeremy.
To outside of Rodgers,
Mm-hmm.
Carson Wentz will probably end up being the best outside of Rodgers.
The fuck?
I
You okay over there, buddy?
Rage.
You okay over there?
Bryson's doing this shit on purpose.
I am.
Trolling as a host. Hey, I got a question for you, Roy. What's your favorite Hawaiian dish? Bryson, talk.
And then he walks off.
He pulled a Herb Street. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do this every week now. Just keep only giving
Definitely.
guys. Yeah, because this shit's hilarious.
Fucking rage inducing. Like he's
Yeah.
losing his shit over here over Gronk.
He's gonna go in the corner and hug that damn Tom Brady jersey he's got hanging. on the wall.
Next question.
Oh God. Okay,
was
where am
great.
I at? Now that Seattle has put an end to the dominance that is Carson Wentz, who is the next team to fall from grace? John.
Oh shit.
It's a tough question.
Steelers. I don't see the Steelers keeping this up.
Steelers, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
The record is shady as fuck.
All right, I have another one for you. What the fuck does Minnesota do at quarterback in 2018? They have 0 quarterback under contract. Roy.
They're gonna re-sign Teddy Bridgewater. He's the good thing is they're not gonna have to sign him to big money. Case Keenum will be somewhere else.
Trade
holding a
bait.
spot. He's not gonna be trade bait. He's not under contract, but it's gonna be Teddy Bridgewater.
Wow.
Oh shit.
All of 10 seconds. Okay. Is it time for John Fox to step down and become a coordinator? David.
Coordinator of what? Yes, he should step down off a cliff. Next question. The dude's awful. Stop counting down. I answered it like 8 times.
2, 1. Oh God. Just, I just hit a milestone in this segment right here.
That was great.
You fucking triggered the shit out of LaRock.
I know. So for the community question next week, guys, hit me with a bunch of questions that will piss David off.
That was awesome. Good job, everyone.
Okay. Here's another one. Is Mike McCarthy close to the hot seat if they don't make the playoffs this season? Jeremy.
No, absolutely not. I mean, they've already. I mean, it's like I said when Aaron Rodgers, the greatest quarterback in the history of life, went down. It would take him a few weeks to get it together, and they won a few games, and he's been pretty impressive. And they almost beat Pittsburgh.
Like I said, Pittsburgh shit's flawed.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
No.
Fine.
Let's just leave it there.
I mean, I'll elaborate. Pittsburgh has struggled against the Colts. Didn't they struggle in the game against the Browns? They were getting their asses handed to them until Cincinnati went full fucking Bengals last night. Till shit just got out of hand. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh seems counterfeit as fuck. There's not enough. I mean, the teams that they lost to the Bears. They lost to the Jaguars. I mean, those two losses are a little fucking shady. They won by 3 points against the Browns in week 1 when Roethlisberger wasn't having much fun. They only beat the Chiefs by 6. I mean, they barely beat the Lions. They barely beat the Colts. They barely beat the fucking injured Packers. They're counterfeit as shit. Their record isn't. I mean, 10-2 is okay if you're just barely beating shitty teams. I mean, they're going to get their asses handed to them the first real team they play, and that's not going to happen probably for 2 more weeks. And I refuse to name that team. So fuck off.
All right, so that will do it for that edition of the community questions. And special shout out to everyone who submitted the questions for us. There was a lot more that was asked, but some of it changed within the last couple hours of today, as far as some of the college stuff. So I didn't have time to change everything, but definitely submit us some questions for next week because this rapid fire segment that I turned it into is pretty hilarious. See David almost fall down over there because his blood pressure got too high. It was pretty hilarious. So make sure you join us in the Sports Wars group on Facebook, where John over here will post a GeekPulse Radio discussion thread where you can submit your questions for us for here to answer on the pod. So now it's time for us to get into our games of the week for NFL. So here's the games that you should be watching this week. So our first game is Oakland visiting the Chiefs in this AFC West matchup. It seemed like the Chiefs were going to run away with the AFC West after a 5-0 start to the season. But entering Week 14's matchup against the Raiders, they're trying to hold up to first place in the division. So, John, we'll start with you, buddy. What do you think of this matchup over here?
I think Oakland's struggling this year. I honestly believe Kansas City is going to take this, even though Kansas City has fallen off heavily since that Week 1.
God, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, I think Kansas City's going to take this over Oakland. 28-14.
That's fair. Jeremy?
I like the Chiefs in this game just because Alex Smith continues to play at a high level, even though everything around him is crumbling. And Andy Reid I don't know what Andy Reid's doing, but I definitely like the Chiefs. I was obviously high on Oakland going into the season, but too much going on.
That happened.
Too much going on. So I like the Chiefs in this game, but it'd probably be close. But I'm really impressed with Alex Smith this year.
Roy?
I like Oakland. I watched the game last week between the Chiefs and the Jets. Holy shit. The Chiefs went full Cincinnati.
Struggle win.
I watched the Chiefs defense bail out the Jets offense 8 times. Like they had
in the
8
red zone, wasn't it?
To get a touchdown.
In the red zone.
They lined up. The Jets lined up to kick a field goal that would have given them that gave them the lead, and then a penalty gave them 1st and goal.
Oh, penalty, huh?
And it was fucking terrible. Like this Chiefs team they're done.
almost like they don't have any leadership.
They're done. The funeral started last week. This week it's just going to continue. They went from running away with the division. Now they're in a 3-way tie.
Now they're just running away.
LaRock will always just because they beat us week 1. LaRock's gonna always hate them forever for the rest of their.
Yeah.
I know because that's just how
this season. Just this season.
No, you're still on the whole shit about Denver.
That's because I just don't like Denver.
And the Giants.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer the question. The Raiders. Love the Raiders in this spot. Marcus Peters was suspended for throwing the flag.
Dude, that was fucking amazing, by the way.
Yeah,
it
launched that motherfucker.
It was actually a good catch by the fan, but
yeah, dude, they were taking fucking selfies with it. It was great.
Kansas City's in a complete free fall. Defensively, they are awful. They might be worse than Oakland. Hopefully Cooper's back. Crabtree should be back. Khalil Mack should get some sort of pass rush. What I think happened was, you guys seen the movie Space Jams? I think Kamara. Space Jam. Yeah. So I think Kamara ate an alien that ate Kareem Hunt. I think Kamara has all the powers Kareem Hunt did have, because that dude is awful.
Look, that would have been a really decent joke, but when you called it Space Jams,
yeah, you really fucked me up there.
Like,
they're not Star Wars.
Yeah,
they're not making 2.
Why don't you Star War?
Star Wars.
You know,
Space
yeah.
Jams.
The Star Wars.
The New England Patriot. Like, fuck LaRock.
Everything's plural or everything's singular, whatever. But no, just the fact that Kansas City's and it's not an issue of talent. Like I said earlier in the season, smoke and mirrors. It's all gimmick shit. Tyreek has one play. It's just a bomb. I think Derek Carr, if you give him time, is going to pick apart that secondary. And what happened to Revis? Did he not play in the second half? Is he not 45 years old? But that was a great signing. Fucking retard. Sorry, that was politically correct. I'm sorry. Just a fucking awful move.
I went in on social justice warriors last week, so if the owner does it, then I've done set a terrible precedent. So you've only followed my lead. So
you're an awful leader.
Actually, they edited that out.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. Awesome. Like, I had to do a double take when it happened.
I guess this was going to be edited too.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Instead of just putting that word, you can put the I member.
Side note, isn't Peters the reason Marshawn got ejected and suspended when they last met up?
Yes.
Yes, definitely yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I don't know. Fun fact.
See, Peters didn't get suspended by the league. Peters got suspended by the team.
Good job, Andy Reid. Let's just suspend all our great guys.
And I guess he's gonna put Revis out there to guard Cooper and Crabtree.
I hope so. Cooper
is gonna put up 50 fucking points.
I hope so. I hope so.
Fantasy football advice: stack all your Raiders.
Dude, did y'all see the video of him launching that fucking flag?
Yeah.
The poor ref, it was like his head went in slow motion looking that bitch go up.
The ref looked like a kid who just had his football tossed up on a roof. It was fucking terrible.
And he reached for that hat to throw that super fast.
Yeah. So, I mean, Oakland.
That video's in the group, by the way.
Oakland is going to take the lead back in the division. They're going to be tied with the Chargers. Who the fuck ever thought we'd be saying that? They're both going to be 7-6. Kansas City's going to continue their free fall just because what the fuck? Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
That's glorious.
Barring a fourth quarter in a Super Bowl. Fuck all y'all. I mean, and then Kansas City's, they've got Oakland this week. They've got San Diego next week. They're going to be 6-8 by the end of next week.
It's fucking beautiful.
I mean, at least they did fuck up that little celebratory game.
I guess smoke and mirrors, whatever. It's kind of like the Wildcat now.
You love that word, don't you?
Smoke and mirror, because that's all it is. It's a gimmick offense.
Agendas, false narratives.
They're doing shovel passes to Kelsey.
All right, so now we have our next game, which will be the Vikings at Carolina in this matchup. Minnesota might be the best team in the NFC at the moment, and on the other side, you're just never sure which Carolina team is going to show up. Is it going to be the one that beat New England or the one that lost to Chicago? We don't know. So, Roy, Do you think Carolina will turn things around in this matchup, or does Minnesota steamroll all over them?
No. Carolina doesn't turn shit around. I watched
Who dat, by the way?
I watched the Minnesota Atlanta game last week. Minnesota's defense is legit. They held Atlanta to 9 points.
But they only scored 14.
Smoke and mirrors.
They only scored 4. I mean, how many points was? But I'm not saying that this Vikings team is anywhere close statistically or all time to that 2000 Ravens team. Now, like I said they're nowhere near it. But
triggered
if the defense can hold, I mean, we know the talent's there on this offense, on this Atlanta offense. Is the Carolina offense anywhere near Atlanta?
No.
Okay, that's my argument. Carolina is not going to be able to do shit on this team. Who is Xavier Rhodes even like? Who do we know? Do we know who their number one receiver is?
Funchess.
Oh shit! Rhodes is going to fucking eat his lunch. Minnesota is gonna win this. Case Keenum is gonna get a starting gig somewhere next year. It's not gonna be Minnesota.
Okay, so I'm totally hijacking this conversation because Bryson didn't put it as a question. Great host. So what does Minnesota do for a quarterback next year? They have
Actually,
no.
hold on. I did ask that question, but you left the room, asshole.
Yeah, that's when you were mad.
Oh,
you got triggered.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This
Really? My own question?
Hey,
Well, I'm sorry
You
you left the
fucking-
room because
hang on. That backfired on you so much. We need to rename you to McAdoo for this episode.
That's
Yeah.
my kid wanted to watch Doc McStuffins and Netflix turned off.
Yeah, you missed that question, boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be Bridgewater, and I'm the one that answered it. It's going to be Bridgewater's going to be the quarterback. They're going to get him at a discount because he's.
But what happens if he's not good?
I mean, he was trending in the right direction. Obviously, a knee injury is insane. So
He hasn't played in a year and a half.
You don't know what you're going to get. They're going to split the difference.
They're gonna trade. They're gonna pick up AJ McCarron if he's not good.
Yeah, because doesn't no shit. Actually, that makes sense.
I'm not
What,
BSing.
Zimmer?
I mean, I'm not BSing.
Zimmer was the coordinator in Cincinnati. It makes sense.
I mean, Eli Manning might be on the market too.
So I'm looking for AJ to go there. If
Minnesota does have a history of grabbing old veteran quarterbacks towards the end of their career.
That's so great. So great.
I'm sorry, but when David asked that question, all I could hear was that Price is Right. Boom, 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 boom. Wow.
I can't. It's my question. You know what? We need to have a committee and subjectively find a new host.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Well, you should have just never left the room.
Well, I can't. I got real life responsibilities. You want to watch Doc McStuffins?
Oh, we thought you were just triggered.
No. Come on now.
All right, let's go.
Jeremy.
Hell, what was the question? No, Minnesota's gonna. I mean, obviously, you never know with Cam. He's basically the regular season version of Eli Manning in the playoffs. We just don't know. But you know, if you're looking at what you expect, I think Minnesota's gonna light them up. So,
Is Kuechly playing?
I don't even know.
I mean, that's it. My thing is Carolina could score one or two big turnovers off Keenum because eventually Keenum is going to turn into Case Keenum. It just hasn't happened yet.
I mean, everybody's waiting on it. I mean,
We've been waiting on it for a while now.
we've been waiting on. We're 13 weeks in.
It's going to happen, damn it. It is. He's going to have an awful 4-interception game, and people are like,
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I think he should.
You sound like the entire AFC East waiting.
He sounds like the college football committee, assuming what's going to happen.
Well, because the standard says he was a journeyman for a reason.
I mean,
by that logic, Tom Brady should have never started. He's a 6th-round draft pick. So,
but injuries happen, and he never left his job. So
he's only a 5-year quarterback. I mean, he's been in the league for 5 years.
On what, 3 teams?
This is actually his 4th. No, I'll tell you that. No. I'm sorry. I misread the abbreviation.
Third.
Went from St. Louis to LA. So yeah, he's on Houston, St. Louis.
anyway, back. So to get us back on track, yeah, I got Minnesota.
John, did you answer the question?
I did not.
Okay.
I would like to start off by saying, fuck you, Jimmy, and Minnesota's winning this game.
I like Carolina.
Okay.
But I want to go ahead, LaRock. Go ahead and give a score prediction with your spread and all that. Let's hear it.
I don't even know the spread actually.
I figured you would have done decided what you were going to put on this game.
No.
Okay.
It's way too early. Injury reports aren't out yet.
Yeah.
Teams
Gotcha.
practice today because that's pretty much why I asked was Kuechly playing.
Gotcha. All right.
Oh, okay.
Let's
That makes sense.
go for it, Bryson.
Okay. Next one, Seattle at Jacksonville.
It's a good game.
Yeah,
It's the
it
best
is,
game of the week.
pretty much. The
Do
Seahawks
we ever
defense
think we'd be saying that about a Jacksonville game?
No.
No.
Where was I at? The Seahawks defense proved they could play without Cam Chandler and Richard Sherman when they held the Eagles to a season low 10 points on Sunday night. Jacksonville's offense doesn't pose nearly the same threat as the Eagles, but quarterback Blake Bortles has learned to play efficiently now that he has support with a strong running game. So, Jeremy, does Seattle pull away in this one?
No. And I'm not saying that because I dislike Seattle so very much. But they're just, can you believe it? But I just don't. There's too many injuries. Russell Wilson is playing great. There's no doubt about it. But I just don't think that they can compete with a good football team that's on a hot streak right now. And Jacksonville just has the it factor right now, man. They don't have a quarterback, but they got everything else going on. So I'm going to take Jacksonville in a close game. I think Russell Wilson's probably going to play a really good football game and continue keeping his name in the MVP discussion. And even in a loss, he may continue to keep that momentum going.
John?
I personally think that going to a little bit of last week, it was more of Philly struggling versus Seattle dominating. So that doesn't carry over. Jacksonville takes this game by 10.
Mr. LaRock?
I like Seattle. So the one thing Seattle can do defensively is stop the run and get after the passer, right? Their corners are awful. Jacksonville doesn't throw. Flip side, I think Russell's going to create more stuff with his legs. And, Ramsey's going to shut down Baldwin. I get it. But they don't run a natural progression offense. It's 2 seconds, and then Russell's a magician. I think defensively, you guys want to take Blake Bortles? Take Blake Bortles. Give me Pete Carroll and that front four. They're going to have at least 1 or 2 turnovers, swing the game. They're not going to blow them out. 20-17, 20-14.
That's fair. Roy?
You guys are taking Blake Bortles.
No, I'm taking Jacksonville's defense. I'm not taking Blake Bortles.
Yeah, we're taking a really beat up them against a really beat up Seattle. Like honestly, you know what all of the Russell Wilson love after last week's game reminded me of? It reminded me of the Michael Vick Monday Night Football game against Washington, where the media just acted like it was it. He's fixing to become the greatest quarterback of all time, and like I feel like that's gonna be Russell Wilson's greatest achievement right there.
I mean, he has won a Super Bowl before. Like, this isn't
Philly was due for
and so has Trent Dilfer. If that's what you really think Russell Wilson won that Super Bowl,
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors.
I mean, Philadelphia was due for a fall. I mean, we kind of knew. We knew that Philly wasn't going to go the rest of the season. I mean, they're running into. I mean, you said yourself, Philly is. They're also kind of counterfeit. They've had, they're 1-2 against teams with winning records this year?
Yep.
Okay, so we knew Philadelphia was due for one. That doesn't mean that Seattle is that much greater. That just means they caught fucking Philadelphia slipping. Now Seattle goes up against a kind of a hard-nosed defense who is going to get after Wilson. Wilson is – with them not having a running game and having a shutdown corner, that defensive line is going to come after Wilson. Wilson is, I mean, he's going to be running for his life the entire game.
And if anybody could do it, it would be Russ.
You said 20-17, 20-14. I think this is going to be one of those ugly ass. It was a game very similar to what they had earlier in the year. I think this is going to be something like 10-7, 10-3. Jacksonville's going to win it.
Did somebody call this the game of the week? Because I'm looking more forward to the Eagles-Rams game.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
I mean, there's some solid games on this week.
I'm going to pick Jacksonville on this one. Jacksonville's defense.
All right, fine. All y'all take Blake Bortles. Go ahead.
I said Jacksonville's defense.
Okay, all right.
We're
I
just
would
going.
probably take-
Hey, we're just going against smoke and mirrors. That's all.
if they had a fucking catch-up packet playing defense or playing quarterback, I would still take Jacksonville's defense.
You know what? If they had a catch-up packet playing quarterback, I would take Jacksonville because catch-up would be better than Blake Bortles.
Well, maybe they can get Geno Smith since you were such a big fan of that move last week.
Hey, they almost beat Oakland.
Oh, because we're in the almost business now, right?
Oh shit! Agendas.
Well, my eye test is picking Jacksonville's defense. All right, so speaking of the Eagles and Rams, let's go into the final game of the week for us. The Eagles are trying to bounce back this week after their 9-game winning streak was snapped by Seattle on Sunday night. The Rams are looking good this season, but David, do you think the Eagles will bounce back in this one, or do they lose another game?
I think this is a bigger statement game for LA. Like if they're legit, and Goff and the weapons, I think that's going to pressure Philly's secondary. What I really like is the two front fours. Like that's going to be a fun matchup. So it should be a good game. Hopefully.
Roy?
Hold on, who you got, Laurent? It's a fun game. Who you got?
Rams.
I also like the Rams in this one. I think Philly. I think they're still reeling. I mean, what's crazy is Seattle is banged up, and we saw what they were able to do against Philly. LA's not as banged up, and their defensive coordinator is Wade fucking Phillips, one of the greatest defensive coordinators ever. And he is going to throw shit at Carson Wentz and that offense that, as Laurent liked to put it, that college offense has never fucking seen before.
I do worry about the secondary, though.
I don't think he's going to have time. I think the pressure that they're going to put on Wentz is going to be insane. I'm picking the Rams. I think it's also going to be – I think it's going to be a close one, probably 24-21, 21-17, something like that.
Well, real quick, David, going back to what we talked about last week with the Eagles, you said if they lose 1 out of the 3 of their last games,
No. So I said 2 of their last 3 they would lose. Because they still got to play the Giants, and I know you guys are like, oh, the Giants, but defensively, I think that they're good. And then obviously the Rams. Like if they lose to back-to-back playoff contenders, all y'all motherfuckers who pick them as the best team in the NFL need to retract your vote and put it to the appropriate team.
And that is.
Is there any question?
So I am going with the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz had a bad game last week. He threw for 350 yards, 29 completions. He had a bad fumble in the end zone going for a touchdown that was anybody that could have happened to anybody that was trying to put effort forward. I didn't see his interception. I don't recall if it was a bad interception. Can anybody tell me?
It wasn't his fault.
Okay. So, I mean, that's a bad game for him at this point. That's the type of season the guy's having. I expect him to respond. He's a mobile quarterback. Typically, when you play against great defensive minds, the worst thing you can do is be mobile because that creates a lot of time for the play to break down. So I think Wentz is going to come back and he's going to have a great game. It's probably going to elevate him back over Brady for the MVP, which kind of sucks. But that's what I expect. I expect him to come out there, and I expect it to be a close game because you're playing against a great defense, and it's going to be that's my game of the week right there by far. So, but I think Wentz is the real deal by a mile, and I'm looking forward to seeing him against good defense. So.
Hey, real quick, is he the best quarterback in the state?
No, not yet.
Okay, all right.
Not yet, but he will be next year this time.
John?
I also
Tim Tebow, I think he has a house in Philadelphia.
son of a bitch.
Oh, that was the joke coming in there. Okay, whatever.
Sorry.
You're good. I consider this the game of the week in my opinion as well. Couple Georgia guys on the Rams, Alec Ogletree and Gurley. So
is that what we're doing? We're doing shout outs now.
Fucking agendas, Joe.
Smoke and mirrors, LaRock. Leave him alone.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Did you finish what you were talking about? I'm sorry.
I stopped listening.
Fuck that guy. We were bosom buddies before this shit started.
We did. Shit turned real fast.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But in the end, you guys still love each other.
All right.
We will not
I
be.
take the Rams. Rams by a touchdown.
So am I the only one that took Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking Philly too.
Oh, never mind. I'm switching.
Bryson's
I'm
got to
switching.
stick to that fucking.
Screw you, asshole.
He wants to keep his job.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So that'll do it for this episode of the Sports Wars podcast. I know you guys have some shout outs to give. So let's start with our Lord Commander, which is a Game of Thrones reference for you non-watchers over there. Jeremy.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for another awesome episode. It's been really fun watching David get triggered on multiple occasions tonight.
His face was turning the same color as that red shirt.
And I want to give a shout out to our Geek Pulse Gaming podcast that they had me on to record yesterday, and I was really excited. It's the first time I've been on that episode. I want to give a shout out to the Geeks and Gamers community. We are recording this on Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday, and that puts us 1 week away from The Last Jedi. And here in Pensacola, we are going to have about 30 or 40 people from the Geeks and Gamers community going to go see that movie, Bryson being one of them. And David is not going to be one of them, but
yeah, he has a bedtime.
It's better for all of us, probably.
Thursday night football.
But yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. Thomas Gilkey, one of our most dedicated listeners and community supporters, is flying in from Boston to come watch this movie with us.
That's pretty
and
awesome.
It's going to be pretty awesome. And David will probably want to hang out with him because they're both Patriots fans. And so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, overall, check out geeksandgamers.com. Check out our Facebook group. And we just passed 15,000 followers on Instagram. So I'm really happy about that. That's pretty exciting. And check out our Patreon account, Patreon/geeksandgamers. Other than that, thank you guys. Have a great night.
John?
Shout out to everything that Jeremy said, the Geeks and Gamers community, Sports Wars. Hit us up on our like pages, Geek Pulse Radio Network, Sports Wars like page. We have a Twitter account, Sports Wars GG. Drop us some likes, follows. We really appreciate it. Subscribe. We have ratings on these podcasts that you can leave a review if you like what you hear.
Yeah.
Can I rate the host?
Are you still
no.
butthurt about that?
I was going to send you a Christmas card. That shit's getting revoked.
You didn't wish me happy birthday, asshole.
Yeah, I did.
Anyways, John, continue.
No, that was it. I was done.
Okay, Roy. Sorry.
Appreciate the time.
Everybody else's shout outs were so uplifting. I'd like to give a shout out to the College Football Playoff Committee for ruffling so many fucking feathers and the coin that they used to decide whether it was Ohio State or Alabama that made it in.
I think that was a one-sided coin.
Let's see. I'd also like to give a shout out to two people that I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but I hope they are. The Georgia fan that got up at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning with a mic and speakers and stood in his yard, who were surrounded by Auburn fans. I'd also like to give a shout out to the gentleman driving the yellow Hummer through Atlanta with a flat screen TV attached showing replays of the SEC championship game. That shit made my Facebook feed today. He is driving around with a bright yellow H3 with a flat screen TV attached, showing replays of the SEC championship game.
Hashtag LaRock Petty.
Yeah, that is LaRock level petty, and
I actually Googled Hummer rates, FYI.
that is what we all strive to be. So that is awesome. Also, it goes to everything that Jeremy and John both said. Shout out to everybody who listens every week and kind of laughs along with us. It's definitely great to have as many people listen as they do. We definitely appreciate y'all's support.
Mr. LaRock?
I got no shout outs, just whatever they said, and then some. Except for that Star Wars stuff. There's football on.
Yeah, what is The Last Jedi? Never mind. We'll go into that another time.
Apparently, it's the one that came before the second one, right? Because they don't go in order.
Oh, my God. Look, we're going to have a whole new panel next week. I apologize.
As long as we get a new host, I retire.
Yeah, I'm on that petty stool with David with the Broncos, the Giants, and the Ravens right now. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our show, and be sure to join us here next week when we sit and discuss sports that's happening all around us. We'll catch you guys later.